Hello everyone and welcome. Welcome to Beyond Small Talk. I've missed you all so much. Last week we had a hiatus. I needed some R&R and a little self-reflection time, so we took off last week, but thank you so much for joining us on Beyond Small Talk every Thursday at the 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Hour, where it's real women, real conversations, elevating womankind one talk at a time. And I'm your co-host today. My name is Jackie Janik, Women's Empowerment Coach, helping women uncover their purpose and define their own path in the world. And thank you so much for joining me today on Beyond Small Talk. Again, I have missed you guys so much. And I'm really excited to have a good friend on. Her name is Karla Salinari, and she is, her handle is at the Latina Health Coach. Hello, she just joined. Hello, I'm so excited to have her on. And today we're going to be talking about plant-based meals and lifestyles. I have a lot of questions. I'm a meat eater, and I've been following Karla for quite a while now. We've become internet besties here, and she's just so sweet and kind. We have a lot in common, and I'm just so excited that we're going to start talking, and she's going to share her plant-based diet. Karla is a wife, a mom, and a holistic health coach, and she has really opened up my eyes to new ways of being. Hello!
Hi, Jackie. How are you?
Hi! Welcome, Karla!
I'm so happy that you invited me back. Thank you so much.
Anytime. Talking about food, and you've totally opened my eyes, and I keep saying this, to a new way of like eating and thinking and shopping. And I just been watching you for I not been that long, like we met within the past year or so, and I just say thank you for changing my perception and at least opening my mind up to new ways for eating. So thank you.
My pleasure. And I'm so glad that we connected. And like you said, we're Instagram besties. We chat every day on the regular. And, one of the biggest blessings, at least for me, since I joined this Instagram world, is the beautiful gifts of other women like you, and just being able to connect with people that just, share the same ideas and values and philosophies in life. And, so thank you. I'm very grateful for you, for your friendship. And yeah. This is so awesome. I'm excited to cook today and just to get down and just talk about food. So excited.
Yes. I've never had a cooking. We've never had like an interactive Beyond Small Talk. So I'm so excited for this. Thank you so much.
Yes.
And can we start a bit, because I was thinking about plant-based diet, and I'm not like know too much about it except from what I learned from you. And I always think about, am I going to get full? Like, I'm a hearty eater. I love food. I like to eat a lot of it. I like the whole interaction around food. I like everything about food. And yet when I feel like maybe I'm not eating the right things that are more filling than others, can that be the case?
Yeah. So I want to start off by saying that plant-based eating is a buzzword. Everybody's talking about it. You're either vegan, keto, like everything has a label, right? I prefer to call it being flexitarian. I prefer to say that I follow a more intuitive way of eating that is made up of mostly plants, right? And, we have been taught for so many years, right, that if it doesn't have meat, it's not a complete meal. If you're not eating animal organ, you could be depleting, you can have depleted levels of iron, which is completely false. If you're not drinking cow milk, then you're not getting adequate amounts of calcium, which is completely false. And all of these things for such a long time. So now that plant-based, veganism, lacto-vegetarian, all of these things are so popular, right? People have this, they feel hesitant because of everything we've been taught for such a long time. To your point, can I have a plant-based meal that's hearty? Remember that all protein originates from plants, right? The animal is the middleman. Okay, so and it almost sounds like, duh, I didn't think about it like that, but most of us don't. Okay, so cows get their protein from grass. So why do we feel like we need to get our protein from cows and not from plants? It's this mental connection that we have to animal protein, and if we don't have it, we're lacking something. But it's quite the opposite, right? And I'm not here to knock on meat eaters. I'm married to a big one, and it's just knowledge is power. If you want to get all of your essential amino acids from animal protein, that's fine. But don't eat animal protein because you think that's the only way to get your essential amino acids. It's not true. An array of vegetables, eating the rainbow, can provide the essential amino acids that we need to build these building blocks that we know as protein, right? Also, we don't need to drink cow milk to get calcium. Calcium is a mineral that comes from the earth. Cows are able to produce calcium because they eat grass that comes from the soil, right? So again, we don't have to have cow milk in order to have adequate amount of calcium. We can get calcium through other things like seaweed, spinach, right? So it's all about learning and opening our minds and our taste buds to the possibilities of a more holistic plant-based way of eating.
Yeah, and I like that you said our taste buds, because I think that people are like, oh, it doesn't taste good. Oh, that's not going to taste good. I was like, well, one, do you try it? And we've had this conversation before about children. I sometimes treat myself as if I had like a child's palate. So sometimes you have to give it to them multiple times for order of them to like be like, okay, so you got me on the whole kick of, I've even moved past almond milk because I see what you do, read the ingredients, and when we get past a certain number, I'm like, I don't even know what this is. Like, I don't even know what they're saying. I hate when that happens. You're on ingredient 9 and you're like, this is like another language. And move to oat milk. And I have to say, it was perfectly delicious. And I even believe I got the brand that I saw you using. I saw some of your brands and I was like, you know what? I like this change. I felt good. Like I felt good, you know?
You know, I use this example so much because it's something that happened a while back. This was a podcast that I was on, and the person that was interviewing me said, you know, I just have convinced myself that plant-based food is just not going to taste as good, and that's just how I have to live. And I was like, what? So here's the answer to that. The answer to why sometimes more natural alternatives don't taste as good is because processed foods and refined sugar and all these packaged foods that we have been fed for such a long time are chemically produced in order to, they have chemical enhancers in them, and they're called natural flavors. There is nothing natural about the word natural flavors as part of your ingredient in whatever it is that you're eating, okay? There is, and this is maybe a conversation for another time about reading labels, and it's understanding that natural flavors translates into flavor enhancers, which have a chemical reaction in our taste buds, which helps us taste things different. It's like a very concentrated taste of a particular thing. Okay, so, and there are there's scientists, there's flavor scientists that work with companies like Frito-Lay and Coca-Cola and all these companies that produce all of these things. There is a very meticulous roadmap to making sure that you don't just have one potato chip. This is why you cannot stop and you have the entire bag. Everything is calculated, right? So when we know and we understand that, again, I will repeat this throughout today's life, knowledge is power. If you decide you want to have 3 or 4 Doritos once a year, but you have the knowledge to know that there's a chemical reason why you cannot stop eating the entire bag, then you just stop yourself at 3 Doritos and you call it a day, right? But it's not having the knowledge that gets us in trouble. And then we fall victim of this mentality that we don't have the willpower, and we become so hard on ourselves and the negative talk and all these things. But in reality, it's not just about willpower. It's about all of these outside influences and factors that at times we have no control of. Okay, one way that we can control that is through going back to a more natural way of eating and natural way of thinking about food as a way of healing the body, eating with purpose, and learning to see food as medicine.
I love that. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, eating with purpose. Because sometimes you're right, we get on ourselves, especially as women, and all of a sudden, if I have, and don't really eat Doritos or Cheetos. Like, I just don't
Yeah,
like
yeah.
them. Like, that's not my thing or whatever. But every once in a while, you know, you're like, you have a craving. You're like, oh, maybe I feel like a chip or something like that. And then you get all mad at yourself and you say, I can't stop. I have no, like you said, I have no willpower. The mentality is going down like that rabbit hole when really that's what it was made to do. So you eat the entire bag and then you buy more and then it just rolls into many more problems, health issues, etc. down the road and fuels the, yeah, that's a whole nother
Absolutely.
discussion,
I
who we're
was, I know,
fueling. Yeah.
we have material here to have like
Mm-hmm.
10 IG lives, right? So
Yeah, all the
just
time.
quickly before we get started cooking, I just
Yeah.
had a call with a client and we were having this conversation. She was saying to me, you know, Karla, I have the bagel, and even if it's gluten free, then I have to have this and I have to have that. And then I see the next person, and it becomes this comparative, right? Of
Mm.
how can she do it and why can't I? And then this horrible thing, which I'm going to use the word hate. I don't like to use that word very loosely. This comparison of before and after pictures, right? Of what
Mm-hmm.
looks like a positive health journey to one person doesn't mean that that's going to be your health journey as well. So we live in this comparison and we don't take outside factors into consideration, like hormone imbalances, right? For example, that's a huge one. We're in our 40s.
Mm-hmm.
We know what it's like. Our
Yeah.
metabolism is starting to slow down. Our body is preparing for premenopause. Some of us in early menopause. All of those things play a huge factor in how we lose weight, right? And
Yeah.
how belly fat, sleep, digestion, period, hormones. And, you know, one size doesn't fit all, you know, and
Agreed.
it's
Mm-hmm.
understanding that, really not just saying we understand it, really understanding that and using that knowledge in a positive way to then learn how to use food in your favor. You learn how to
Mm.
use food as a positive way to nourish this vessel that we have that does so much for us, right? It we grow children in 10 months. I mean, come on, guys, really?
Yeah.
Like, we do so many things, and all we do is criticize our bodies.
Mm-hmm. I'm
How
definitely one of
about,
those girls. I'm
yeah,
hard on myself. I'm very hard. And
totally.
especially like you said, in your 40s. And, you know, I know there's other Beyond Small Talk community members in their 20s and 30s, and they're probably tired of me talking about it. But I'm just giving you a heads up because no one really gave me a heads up. No one actually said to me, Jackie, when you hit around your 40s, you
Mm-hmm.
could start being in perimenopause, and this is hormonal, and this changes your body, your belly fat, how you digest food, sleep. I was like, what happened here? Like, all these things are played in, and it really goes back. I love how you say food is medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited for you to get started.
Yeah.
I've mentioned many times I don't cook, but I very much enjoy watching people cook and eating homemade meals. Like, I'm really
Okay.
good at
Okay.
it.
So the reason that I chose the recipe that I did today was, one, because you asked me for a hearty meal and I wanted to debunk the myth that plant-based isn't hearty, and that if you eat plant-based, you're going to be hungry in an hour or in 30 minutes. That's simply not true. The secret is to choose fruits and vegetables that are high in protein, high in healthy fat, and high in fiber, high in protein, fat, and protein, right? So fat, fiber, and protein are the three components. It's the trifecta to creating a
Hmm.
smart meal that is going to not only nourish your body, but keep you full longer, improve your digestion, your energy levels, so that you don't experience that crash 30 to 40 minutes after you've eaten your meal, because you've spiked your insulin levels so high that now you're just like, oh my God, I need to take a nap, which is terrible, right? It's a horrible feeling. So if we start to see food as, like I said, medicine, but then we choose with purpose, right? So
Mm.
one of what we're going to make today is we're going to make a spring pasta that can be ready in less than 20 minutes, but it has what I like to call upgraded ingredients, right? So instead of white flour pasta, we're going to use, and I'm not sponsored by any of these people, this is actually what I cook with in my family and at home, and what I feed my family. Jovial pasta is the best gluten-free pasta on the market. It's made with two ingredients, brown rice and water.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm going to choose this pasta, right? Again, I'm choosing with purpose, understanding that this is going to give me a lot of fiber and it's not going to spike my blood sugar levels, okay? Then eating seasonally. You and I have had many conversations about this before. The power of eating seasonally will transform your life. Why? One, it's budget friendly. Okay, and you can in some cases choose to buy or be able to buy more organic ingredients, because when they're in season, they're a lot cheaper. Also,
Yes.
seasonal fruits and vegetables have more nutrients because they're harvested at peak, rather than being taken from the vine or whatever it is before they ripen in order to get to you. Why do you think that strawberries are $15 for a small container in the dead of winter? Because it's not strawberry season, right? So budget friendly, high in nutrients, right? And easy to get, right? So eat seasonally, work with what is around you. Also, Mother Nature is so perfect that it gives us what we need at the times that we need it. When is cold season? Cold season,
Yeah, so
December, right? October, November, December, and January. What happens during the colder months? We get the flu, we get sick, this and that. What is something that helps us combat that? Zinc. Zinc is found in pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin is a fall winter vegetable, right?
Yeah. Why would anyone even question Mother Nature? She's just brilliant.
I know. She's just
yeah, she's brilliant.
Right.
And when I go shopping, you have told me, well, I don't know necessarily what's in what season, but I look for the price. And even my Trader Joe's, which, again, not an ad, not sponsor, I just love Trader Joe's. I go there frequently. I can tell because when all of a sudden, and my daughter lives on watermelon, that in the dead of winter, watermelon, first of all, it doesn't even look pretty. Like it doesn't,
taste like anything.
No, it doesn't have that good taste, but in the summer, like right now, the watermelon, it's just delicious and it's more affordable. So that's how I've been gauging, and that's how I shop now from you. I look at, and I changed my mind. I'm like, okay, so this blueberry was like $12. I was like, obviously it's not in season. I need to eat seasonally.
Exactly. And choosing seasonal is also, it also helps you spice up your menu, right? A lot of us get into this rut, right? And a lot of the reasons why we fall back into unhealthy habits is because we're just sick and tired of eating the same thing over and over again. But when you start eating seasonally, the menu changes and you get excited, right? I get excited for ramps. Ramps are they're wild garlic, right? And they're only in season for 2 weeks out of the spring. I'm like, oh my goodness, like it's ramp season. You get excited. So that is also another way to help you stay eating whole food, plant-based meals that are going to nourish your body. But at the same time, you have so many options of different things that you can work with that change every 3 to 4 months. Right now, and for today, we're going to make a spring summer pasta with all seasonal ingredients. So artichokes are in season now and they're packed with fiber. One artichoke has 9 grams of fiber. So here, you have right here, only with this, with the pasta that's made with brown rice and the artichoke, you already have a hearty meal that's going to keep you full longer. Why? Because it's high in fiber, right? So then we're going to choose olives, which are also in season. We're going to choose tomatoes. It's tomato season. It's the summer. They're juicy and amazing. And then we're going to use summer squash, which is also in season now. And it's super versatile and we can use it in a ton of recipes. This meal is not only going to be ready in under 15 minutes, but it'll probably cost you $5. So think about it in that way, right? And then we're going to complement all of those flavors with herbs and spices. Herbs and spices are not only a powerful way to improve the flavors of your foods, but they're also incredibly nourishing and healing for the body. And we often don't really know what to do with them, right? So it's like, we know dill goes into like tzatziki sauce and maybe cucumber salad. We just don't live in a country that embraces condiments and herbs and spices in a medicinal way?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I use salt. Like, this is all I know. Garlic.
Sorry. You're so funny.
Salt and
All right,
garlic.
so let's get started. I'm going to show you how to do this.
Yeah.
So I went ahead, just for the purpose of like speeding things up, and went ahead and boiled the pasta. Again, for those of you asking and watching, Jovial pasta, you can buy it anywhere, even on Amazon these days on the internet, and they go on sale very often. So what we're going to do is I am going to saute in a small pan a little bit of organic olive oil. Also, again, eating with purpose. Olive oil is an anti-inflammatory. It's wonderful to add it to your meals. And not only that, a lot of the vitamins in the foods that we're eating are fat soluble, meaning that the body best absorbs them in the presence of fat. So remember that the next time you drizzle some good quality olive oil on your meals, not only are you giving it that delicious flavor, but you're helping your body absorb the nutrients of the food that you're about to eat better. Okay, so I'm going to heat my olive oil, and then I have some onions. Onions, again, they have tons of healing properties as well. Onions are really great. And we're going to saute some garlic as well. Garlic, it's an antimicrobial and antifungal. Now I'm going to teach you a little trick. If you know that you're going to be cooking with garlic, peel your garlic and cut it in half and let the enzymes activate, because it becomes that much more powerful when you cook with it, right? So if you let your garlic activate before you cook with it, it becomes that much more medicinal for you. All right, so you activate your garlic, and now we're gonna chop it, and we're going to saute. And I would do like half of a white onion and 2 garlic cloves. That's like rule of thumb, right? Like pretty much. If you're feeding like a family of 2 or 3, that's plenty. And we're gonna saute that on medium. And then while that's sauteing, I'm going to cut my ingredients. Now, what you're gonna do is you're gonna add them according to how fast they cook, right? So my artichokes are already cooked, so this is probably gonna go in last. My garlic and onion is already cooking. My tomatoes don't really need to cook that much, but I'm gonna start with the summer squash, because it's the one that'll probably, out of this whole bunch, take the longest to cook. Now, if you're buying organic, right, and we don't have to buy everything organic. I don't care what anybody says. You should buy organic anything that you're eating the skin, right? Because that's a very porous part. So things like spinach, raspberries, strawberries, right? The squashes, but anything that has like thick skin, like pineapple, avocados, watermelon, cantaloupe, you can get away with not buying it organic, so you can save a little bit more. There is an app called EWG, which is the Environmental Working Group, and they release a list every year of the clean 15 and the dirty dozen. And that is a really good way for you to know by year which crops are being sprayed, and how to, shop better.
Yeah, actually, I think I learned that from you because I looked it up. I forgot if I listened to one of your stories, and it had some of my favorites on there. Grapes was pretty high this year, and I love grapes, so I was like, oh, okay. But it's just bringing, again, knowledge is power. So it's like, okay, what's seasonal? What may I need to shop organically? What maybe I can save on? It's just, again, knowledge is power, being smart in your purposeful eating.
Right. And you know something, if there are just some things that you can live without and they're not in season, like for me, I love cherries. I can't live without them. I always need to have a bag of cherries in my freezer. Buy them frozen, right? Buy them frozen. It is, obviously, things that are fresh are better, but if you buy from a reputable company and the ingredients is just that, the product that you're buying, buy them frozen. They're flash frozen, peak of their harvest. So it's fine, right? And that's also another way to meal prep and have alternatives in your fridge so that it keeps you from finding yourself in like a food emergency or like not really knowing what to cook. That's also really good. So I'm adding my green squash, and I don't want to overcook my onion and my garlic because I don't want it to become bitter. So if that happens, just add a little bit of water so that it doesn't stick. Now, I don't know if you can see me very well, which is unfortunate because I set up my table so nicely, but I can start showing you. So we're just going to saute the zucchini, and we're going to let those ingredients come together for a few minutes, but you don't want to overcook your veggies, right? I don't know if this happened to you when you were a kid, but, and sorry, Mom, I know she knows I say these things. She used to give us like such mushy asparagus. I'm like, what? This is not what asparagus is supposed to taste like, or like such mushy broccoli, right? Bless her heart. It was like, you know, from a can and whatever, because it was what she was able to give us in that time. But now we know that if overcooking your veggies depletes them from their nutrients, right? So we don't.
That's what I was going to ask you. Yeah, it depletes from the nutrients, because I tend to put all of mine in a pan like you're doing, but then they get burnt. And I actually don't mind some burntness because it reminds me of a chip. Like, it reminds me of the crunch. Maybe not like a chip that I need, but it gives me like that crunch, and I like crunchy kind of things sometimes. But if they're kind of burnt, my husband's like, do you just burn everything? And I'm like, kinda. Does that, it loses its nutrients, I'm sure,
it does,
right?
It does. So that's why it's so important to make sure that you cook your veggies separately, right? Like, don't roast your broccoli with potato or sweet potato, because obviously the broccoli is going to char a lot faster than your sweet potato is going to cook, right? So I would, if I was roasting a big sheet of veggies, I would do like cauliflower, broccoli, red onion, right? Things like that cook within the same time.
Got it.
And then I would leave like the sweet potato, and those more starchy root veggies to then cook separately with another group that will take the same time as them, right? That's like
makes total sense. Yeah. I think I put my asparagus with the broccoli, and then that just wasn't working too well.
Well, really?
Is that okay? It looked a little burnt. Well, my asparagus were so thin.
Oh,
like
that's
they were
why.
like these. Yeah, it was very thin. So, yeah, I had a little blip there, but
that's totally fine. So now I'm just chopping up my tomatoes, and I'm gonna, you know, my husband Joe is like really great in the kitchen, and he has amazing tips. And he taught me that if you cut your tomatoes with a knife that has teeth like this, you don't squash the tomatoes, so you preserve the natural juices from it. So that's a little tip for you guys. So I'm gonna go ahead.
We couldn't really see the knife. Is that the knife that has the little? Oh yeah.
Rather than using something like this, which is just gonna squash it.
Yeah.
All right. So now I'm going to add my tomatoes. And I mean, it smells like summer and spring. I mean, these colors are just amazing. And you're going to let that just come together, right? Then we are going to, I have some Kalamata olives, which are great to add some healthy fat to your meals as well. And then after, we're going to add the artichokes, right? So these artichokes are cooked already. So I am going to add them at the end. I'm going to cut them in 4s. And again,
is it like an artichoke heart?
Yes,
not
it's an artichoke.
Yeah. Gotcha.
It's an artichoke heart. You know, artichokes are super underrated. Like, they're not that difficult to cook. They just look intimidating. They really do.
They do, because all the outer leaves, I remember how much my mother loves them, and she's always like sucking on a leaf of the artichoke, but I never really saw the middle, because all I ever saw was her eat like the outers. My grandmother did that too.
Eating the outers is amazing, right? Like, it's like almost like a chip, right? Like, you just, you know, bite it and using your teeth. Right. So I also have a little bit of tomato sauce that I'm going to add just to bring all these flavors together. Now, really important, I'm Latina, which means that we use a lot of Goya and like all these conventional, I mean, I don't use that anymore, but, you know, growing up, all these conventional brands. And it wasn't until now that I started to pay attention to the ingredients is in things as simple as tomato sauce. if you're not careful, you're adding cornstarch, sugar, artificial additives, like all these not so great ingredients in things that should only be one ingredient, right? For example, tomato sauce. So always pay attention to what you're putting in your plate, what you're cooking with, because sometimes we could be under the impression that it's healthy and it's meant to be healthy, but it needs to preserve the shelf life. And in some cases, it's packed with all that stuff. So I like the Whole Foods 365 brands, and I look for sales and things like that. And this one, the ingredients is just that, tomato sauce, and that's it.
And you would think that that's, like you said, is the only thing that it should be.
Yeah. And you know, when I brought it up to my mom once when we were just talking about it, she's like, that's new. That's not how it was before. And to her point, that's 100% true. A lot of these big companies are now cheaping out with their ingredients in order to, sell more, produce more, right? Supply and demand. And they're just cheaping out with their ingredients where maybe 20, 30 years ago, it wasn't the case, but it sure is the case now, especially with like industry oils, which are oils like canola oil, cottonseed oil, all of these highly inflammatory oils that have a higher smoke point, right? Which is why so many of these companies are cooking with them. They're cheap, but they have, they cause so much inflammation in the body. And inflammation, as a lot of you may or may not know, is the root cause of disease. So we, should pay attention to those things. And, as part of my 6-month program, when I teach my clients, we have a whole class on learning to read labels because it's really important.
It's so significant, and the more I listen to you, and the more I do it, the more questions I have.
Yeah.
And it's like, what does this even mean? And why is this gum and everything like that? I was like, what is this? Why is it so overprocessed?
Well, gums are just a binder, right? So, but the thing is that then again, they start to get cheap with the binders, and then they have to add 3, 4, and 5 different types of binders. But see, I know exactly what oat milk you're referring to, right? That brand that we both like is called Malk, right? I'm assuming this is the one. Okay. So Malk, the owner of Malk is amazing. Her name is August Vega. She's a mompreneur, woman-owned business. I love it. And she doesn't put any gums in her products. So what happens when you use it in coffee? It separates, right? But she doesn't care, right? And I don't care either because the flavor's amazing. And I know that I'm getting a good quality product. Now, have some other of the conventional almond milk and oat milk and whatever, it doesn't separate. It gives you that creamy consistency. But in order to achieve that, it's because it has all of these gums that are listed on the back, right? So
that is so good to know. Like, again, knowledge is power, because I'm sure, like you said, it tastes just as well, but we're used to, I don't drink coffee, I just drink tea, and I drink it black. But I know what you're saying, because my mom was a big coffee drinker, my husband, that if they saw things like coming apart and it looked like the milking, you would just assume that maybe this is bad, this doesn't look pretty, this is, like, you're just not used to having coffee that way, and they wouldn't realize that it's better for you than other things, but it's just not stuck together. Like, you're teaching us so much. This is so cool. Okay.
And
like, I have all my post-its because I got to write it all down.
You are hilarious. So I just went ahead and added the artichokes because I want all of those flavors to come together.
That looks beautiful.
And this is what it's starting to look like. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful dish. And, going back to what we were just talking about the gums that separate, if there aren't any gums in the ingredient list, that the things will separate. We are visual. We're visual eaters. If we see something that doesn't look appetizing, we don't eat it. Digestion starts with your eyes and with your smell, right? When you're, and with, it's all, this is, oh my God, I have so many things to say about this. The mind, and you know why I am so passionate about this, Jackie? It's because I lived for so many years, and I get emotional just talking about it. I could actually cry right now. As like just having a horrible relationship with food where I feared it, right? It was like I wouldn't go out because I didn't want to ruin my diet. I wouldn't allow myself to enjoy a piece of cake because it would lead to other things. Just this horrible relationship with food that the reason that that happened is because I didn't know any better. So food was something that I feared, right? I was nervous around it. I was anxious around it, and it controlled my life, right?
Yeah.
So now going back to what we were talking about, food, the mind and the gut and our senses, everything is connected. Our digestion starts with our sense of smell, sight, and ear. When you hear, I'm going to serve you the most delicious pizza, your mouth starts to salivate, which means that the saliva that your mouth is releasing is preparing your stomach to receive nutrients that is going to break down, right? So everything, and then unfortunately, our medical system, right? Western medicine is so divided, right? When you have a headache, you go to a doctor. If your stomach hurts, you go to another one. And they treat the body as separate when the body is an entire ecosystem that needs to be treated as one. Yeah. So going back to what we were talking about, the gums, if somebody sees their milk separating, even if it might taste good, right? They're not going to like it because it looks unappealing. It's not what a latte is supposed to look like, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now all of my ingredients are nicely put together. I'm going to add my Kalamata olives. And you can add or remove whatever you want. Maybe you want to add some peas instead of the olives, or maybe you want to add peas are in season, asparagus are in season, sugar pea snap peas are all in season. And you can customize these pasta dishes however you want.
That's awesome. And thank you for, like, what I'm taking away is I usually dump everything at the pan in one time, and that's why they don't cook properly. That's the key. Like, you're like, what takes longer to cook? And of course, it makes sense. I just didn't think about it that way.
And you know, Jackie, it's about having a love affair with food, treating it with love and respect. Because treating our meals with love and respect is what's going to, this that we're treating with so much love and respect and giving it so much positive energy, right, is what's going to heal us from the inside out. We are projecting energy, good or bad, right? Because if you're in a bad mood and you eat, your stomach is going to hurt. Another example, right? Your digestion stops when you're in a bad mood, right? So the energy that we're giving this food is also going to help heal us. So treat food with love and care, and pay attention to the way you cook it, the process of how it browns, the process and how long it takes to cook, right? And just give it the respect that it deserves, because ultimately this is your medicine cabinet.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think that's why a lot of my family members, the ones that like to cook, my cousin Janine used to love to cook, and she knew that I enjoyed her meals. So every once in a while I'd call her, hey, do you want to cook me a dinner or whatever? And that's why it tastes so good, because she truly enjoyed making it for me, and I really enjoyed eating it. And it was just like such a nice thing to do. And I even noticed my husband's great at breakfast food, and I'd always be like, every once in a while, can you just make me breakfast? And you can feel that it was done with that kind of like respect, love. I mean, how he flips an egg is like an art. He makes sure, like, he just puts in a lot of effort around getting the perfectly made egg over easy with a piece of, I don't know, whatever bread he puts together, and just, he wants the butter to to go on each So that makes so much sense. And sometimes I'm just like not in a good mood about cooking because I'm like, oh, I just don't know how my food comes out ugly and blah, blah, blah. And then when I eat it, I'm like, oh, that was very uneventful. Like it didn't taste as good. Like I'm like, what happened? It's because of how I showed up to food
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
myself, at the
Exactly.
moment. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it makes sense.
Going back to your point of your cousin Janine, my mom, and this is something that I'm writing about in my book, my cookbook that comes out at the end of the year, possibly beginning of next year, but it's that, right? Like my mother makes the most amazing, and you might laugh when I say this, bowl of white rice with a fried egg over it.
You would think like, yeah,
You would think I'm telling you of like a beef Wellington, right? Which is like one
yeah,
of the most difficult things to make ever. The reason that it's so good, it's because of the love that she puts in it. It's the energy that she's putting into this thing that she's making that she knows I love so much. And that is
yes,
the power of food. Food has that power, right? Food is what brings us together around the table. Food is what reminds us of memories of our ancestors growing up. So here we are living in a world that instills fear in us for eating too many calories, eating this, not eating that. When food is pleasure, food is energy, and food is therapy in a good way if we allow it to be, right?
yeah. And if
So
we
it's
allowed, because going back, sorry, I'm sorry. I
no,
just
no,
have
go
to
ahead. No, no,
share
no,
real
no, no,
quick.
no. Go ahead, go ahead.
My thank you. My grandmother was Polish, and she used to make homemade pierogies.
Oh
You
my
ever had a
God, how
homemade pierogi
delicious.
by an old? She was like in her 80s. She died. She was 96 when she passed away, so still in her 80s. I remember calling her and saying, "You're not going to be making them much longer for me. I need a genuine
Oh,
pierogi made by an old Polish lady standing in that outfit, the house dress that all the old ladies used to wear, rolling." She goes, "I'll make it for you one last time." And that
oh
pierogi
my
tasted,
God.
she was like 86, my last pierogi. It just like warmed my heart. It was like the best pierogi ever. And now I live, by Brooklyn in Greenpoint, and I'm trying to source out an old Polish woman, but she has to be old. And she has to be like she has to be old. It can't be a young Polish woman and just making
Yeah.
me. But you're right. Like that was also her therapy, and that was her way of showing love and cooking for us to do it in that way. She never taught me the recipe because she said it was too hard. Go buy it. And I was like, what?
That's so funny. And it's true. It's that love and memories and
Yeah.
pleasure. And I mean, food is culture. And when we start depriving ourselves of it because for whatever reason, it's unfortunate, right? So
Yeah.
anyway, let's
Okay,
learn to
where
fall
are
in
we?
love with
Where are
food
we?
again. All right, so where are we? So
Yes.
it's all done. So I seasoned it with some mineral salt. I like to use Redmond salt because it's mineral salt. It's not refined. I get a lot of questions from my clients or when I teach classes and things like that when they're like, oh, but salt, but salt. If you're eating good quality salt, don't fear salt. Salt provides electrolytes. It provides iodine. It's good for us in moderation as long as it's the good quality salt. When we buy table salt that is highly refined, that's when we get into trouble. So when my
Mm-hmm.
clients come to me and they say things to me like, I'm eating a diet of no salt, but I'm like, are you eating sugar and processed foods? Because that's worse.
Yeah.
Right, so again, paying attention to the foods. Okay, so I added some salt and then I added some Italian seasoning just because it's a
Mm-hmm.
nice mix. It also helps speed things up in the kitchen, and as long as you're buying good quality organic, no preservatives and additives, I find that this is a really great shortcut to get dinner served on the table faster. So I added some Italian seasoning, some salt and some pepper, and now I'm just going to combine it. I'm going to combine these ingredients, and one thing that I forgot was a plate, and I will get that now. Let's see.
And this is good for the whole family. Your whole family will eat this.
Absolutely.
I'm sure they will
Yes.
love it. Yeah. I mean, how
Well,
can you not?
Carolina may not because of the olives and stuff, but for the most part, she loves fresh tomato sauce. And this is how it looks, but I want to plate it nicely so I can show you guys. Because again, visual is so important. I just need to grab a plate really quick. So I'm going to slide. Sorry, my window's open. You can see Brooklyn.
We just had like a major
For those of us who are
rainstorm.
not from here. Did we? Is that what was happening here?
Yes, I'm up in Westchester, not at home today, and
Are
it
you?
was terrible. Yeah. But you're right.
So
I
here
love when
is,
like the chefs take time to plate their dishes and it's like so pretty. It's like an
yeah,
art form.
absolutely. And we are going to garnish this with some fresh parsley. Again, parsley is anti-inflammatory. It helps detox the liver. So use your herbs and spices at every opportunity you have because it really is amazing. And I am going to add a nice helping of my fresh cut parsley on here. And here you have a bowl of hearty pasta with spring vegetables that is ready in no time. I mean, it took us a little bit longer because we've been chatting this entire time, but had we not been, I would have put this on the table in under 20 minutes.
That looks delicious. You need to send me just take a pic, send it my way. I want to post it. I want to remind everybody that, eating plant-based or eating knowledge around food, eating purposefully, eating seasonally. I mean, Karla, you have just given me like 12 notes here. Being flexitarian. I really like that. I like that being flexitarian because it feels not constricting and more able to adapt and listen to my body because maybe at the moment, while I eat meat, but I want to incorporate more vegetables, there might be a day that I'm like, you know what, I feel like a bit of meat. And usually I know it's around my period or things like that.
Sure.
It's because I'm craving something and my body's just used to it at this point, finding that source for me, but I'm sure I can find it somewhere else. I just don't know yet. So I like that. I like that terminology. Oh my God, this is awesome. I wish you could just put the food through IG.
I know. I wish I could just be like, is this a deliverance? Yes. Or come over. That's going to be the next one. Maybe you should come over. We'll do an interactive one. And you know what? Curiosity is the first step, right? Once you become curious, you plant the seed. And I have a very special announcement to make on July 20th. I'm going to be dropping something very, very special that was made as a response to concerns, questions, ideas, everything that I hear from my community, from what my community shares with me. I created something very special that drops on July 20th. So if you guys are interested in joining my VIP mailing list, you can do so by clicking the link in my bio and just entering your email. I promise I won't spam you. I will just send you one email with the information. And again, this is a true labor of love. I do this because I've lived it, because it's changed my life in the most impactful way. And I want to continue to share this because I want to provide the same for other people too. It is possible to heal your relationship with food, eat with purpose, and learn to fall in love with foods that love you back.
Oh, yeah, and I think that's why I'm in that place and why I was very drawn to you. Well, first your personality and your eyebrows, like love them.
I work very hard at these eyebrows, and I have been for the past 8 years. I want everybody to know that this didn't happen overnight. I used to have those like skewering eyebrows for so long. Thank you so much.
Oh my God, because in your 40s, like in the 90s and early 2000s, everything was so tiny. It was so
I know.
So I'm acknowledging your eyebrows and the time because I understand that takes time and effort. And just showing up all this time and your lunch, it's a lunch with Karla. Is that what you call it?
Lunch with Karla. I share,
yes.
I try to share every single day. Of course, I'm also a mom and I've got a lot going on. But I do this because it is possible to implement a whole food plant-based diet and be creative. And, you know, today I shared, and with this we can close if you would like, I shared that simplicity is the key to success when it comes to this, right? I mean, I know that when we decide we're going to go plant-based and all of a sudden we want to make a vegan cream cheese a cheesecake with blah 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 blah, and then it just becomes something that is so different than what we're used to, and it doesn't come as second nature. It becomes difficult, and with difficulty comes that you're going to fall off the wagon and you're going to give up. Keep it simple. Upgrade the meals that you make on a day-to-day basis. Just remove the animal protein and substitute for something that is more natural, more veggies, right? And just baby steps, right? We've been eating this way for half of our lives. We cannot expect change to happen overnight. So allow yourself to be flexitarian, but love and accept yourself at every stage of the game, because you cannot hate your way to the finish line, right? You cannot change a body you hate. And I say that a lot. So the choices that we make should be because we love our body and respect it, not because we hate it.
I'm sorry, I had to write that down because you're talking directly to me. Exactly, being 45 and going through many different seasons of life with the media, our mothers, all the women in my life, and how much they've all struggled, and the narrative that has been fed to them for their whole entire life. So I see how it trickles down, and we've had this conversation around our daughters are watching us, they're listening, they're emulating what we do, and you have to decide whether is that pattern going to stop with you or not. And we have to heal ourselves first. But you saying that you cannot change a body we hate, that's hitting home, because I'm really really hard on myself, incredibly hard on my body. And like you said, we birth children, like I'm going through hormonal changes, stress, anxiety plays a role in it, lack of sleep, and so many things. So it's just nice to know that we can take baby steps,
and that we're not alone in this journey.
We're not alone,
and that we're not alone. We've built. I mean, my relationship with you is a perfect example. Friend power is more powerful than willpower. Surround yourself with like-minded women that help encourage you and support you in your journey, and who share the same ideas and philosophies as you do, right?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Thank you. The meal looks absolutely delicious. Please share a picture, because that cannot go to waste before Joe eats it. He can't eat it yet. He has to wait. Joe,
you know him so well. You know him so well.
He's probably
working.
smelling it right now and was like,
he's like,
is that IG Live over?
Already?
Carla, I'm hungry. So thank you so much, my friend.
Jackie. You're amazing.
Oh, so are you. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, Beyond Small Talk every Thursday at 4. And catch this again, IG Live TV, and or on Spotify and Apple, or wherever you get your favorite pod. Thank you so much.
Bye, Jackie. Thank you.
Right back at you. Bye.
Bye.